caring adults to create a safe
learning environment for all the students in my school.
In my school.
In my school.
In my school.
I'm Dennis Van Rokel, president of the National Education Association. Help us create safe, bully-free learning environments for all students. One caring adult can make all the difference. Be that adult and take the pledge at NEA.org/bullyfree. Adults have the power to stop bullying in our schools.
It starts with me.
It starts with me.
It starts with me.
It starts with me.
Bully-free. It starts with me.
Visit NEA.org/bullyfree. A message from the National Education Association.
1470 AM and 95.3 FM. The Health and Wealth Radio Network. Listen for Invite Health with Jerry Hickey and Amanda Williams. Weekday mornings at 9. WNN. Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton. The Health and Wealth Radio Network.
Taking over-the-counter or prescription drugs unnecessarily is a drag, whereas feeling great like you used to is the way it ought to be. Learn how to feel, function, and perform to your full health potential. Tune in to the Dr. Bob Martin Show, Sunday morning at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
Our parents, they were really supportive that all 5 of us would join. I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture. It helped me get my job, helped me pay for my house.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Florida Army National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
What do you want to be when you're older?
Hold on, it's like a deep question.
When I'm older, I want to be a singer. That's my goal.
I'm not sure I want to invent the supercomputer, but I definitely want to build the supercomputer.
I want to be an inspiration.
An organizer of like do-gooders.
I want to be a veterinarian. I want to help out animals and work with them.
I want to be a media mogul. Just rule the world.
When I'm older, I want to be anything but the one that doesn't fit in, the one that people don't love.
Everyone deserves a dream.
Everyone.
But some of us are depressed,
anxious,
scared,
angry,
alone.
Don't feel like ourselves.
We can't even focus on the present, much less the future.
If that's you, say something.
It's okay to talk. It's okay to share. It's okay to get help or help someone.
Talk to someone. It helps. And people will listen. Add your voice at okaytotalk.org. okaytotalk.org.
Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Looking for ways to reduce your home's energy use? Propane tankless water heaters heat water instantly, whenever it's needed, eliminating wasted energy. And propane is clean burning and efficient, which is better for the environment. Learn more about energy-saving tankless water heaters at propanefl.com. Propane gas. Exceptional living from the exceptional energy.
A message from the Florida Propane Gas Safety, Education, and Research Council, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Now you can get Talk 1470 WNN on 95.3 FM, too. Loud and clear. Health and Wealth Radio, WNN.
The opinions expressed in the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Shub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Dan Shub, and tonight, like we typically do, we're going to talk some golf, we're going to talk some travel, going to be recounting my trip that I just got back from this morning out to Las Vegas. Good to be back, but it was pretty good to be in Las Vegas. Wasn't so bad being there either. Also, we've got the usual golf news. We've got some travel news. We've got Dan's deals on travel, so we can send you away on the cheap because nobody wants to pay more than they need to get out of town. But also tonight we've got a surprise co-host right here in the studio, friend of the show, friend of mine for, I guess, about 55 years or so. Table Tennis Hall of Famer, Mr. Scott Price, pingpongman.com. How are you, Mr. Price?
Well, thank you, Dan. What a nice introduction. I'm doing great, thanks.
Well, it's nice to have you here. Now, you're in town for a tournament, correct?
Yeah, we're playing the International Table Tennis Championships down at the Fort Lauderdale Convention Center, I guess the Broward County Convention Center.
Yep, so not too far from where we're sitting here.
And it's a week-long event with hundreds of players from 40 countries around the world.
Wow, and you are playing in what part of the event are you playing?
Well, this is an interesting tournament. This is a veteran tournament, ages 40 and over, and there are actual players that are over 90. So each has its own division, 40 to 44, 50 to 54, 60 to 64, and I'm in the 60 to 64, even though I'm only 26 years old.
Well, yeah, I would believe that. Now, that sounds strange to me because typically in table tennis, I know that everybody has a rating, and therefore it's possible that young players play old players and men play women, and, somewhat similar, I guess, to a golf handicap, correct, typically?
That is typical. They do have a rating system. This particular event is an international event where they want to just group the people by the age groups, and they have actually an international tour, China, Paris, and different cities around the world where they conduct this tournament.
So you are playing this week is it the finals or the final bracket or?
Wishful thinking, Dan. Thank you. I did play well yesterday. I qualified for the 60 to 64 singles and also the doubles. So I was put in the main draw and we'll start tomorrow morning. So
now, if the public would like to come down and see, it's open to the public. Do they sell tickets? How can they get in there?
I believe it's open to the public, and I didn't see anybody paying any fees to come in, but it's pretty interesting. 50 tables and some 300-400 people from around the world going at it.
And this is the Broward County Convention Center?
That's correct. And It's usually from 9 a.m. to about 6 p.m.
Awesome. Hopefully we'll get some of our listeners down there to watch you play. I've obviously watched you play. I've had the privilege, and it's pretty amazing to see the caliber of play with you and some of your cronies out there.
Well, it's just wonderful, Dan, that here we are. We coincide in the town at the same time again. So
it's kind of weird because it's more typical that the two of us would cross paths in Las Vegas. And so I was out there, and I thought by the time I got here into town, you'd have already won the trophy or whatever. But lo and behold, you were still lingering here in South Florida. So this was a unique opportunity for us to rendezvous right here on the air.
Yeah, well, it's great. Hey, I want to hear more about Las Vegas. What's it like out there these days?
Well, I was going to talk about it next segment, but we could talk about it right now. So, yeah, I mean, as the listeners know, it's kind of my second home. I get out there probably 5-6 times a year. Was out there for a convention that was at the MGM Grand, which that end of the strip is not my favorite end of the strip. I prefer to be in the middle because it's easier to walk from place to place, because just to go across the street in Las Vegas is like a 2-mile walk. It's not so simple. And the MGM is an older hotel. At one time, I'm not sure if it still is, it had the most rooms out of any hotel, not in Las Vegas, in the world.
Funny that I remember the number, 5,005.
Yeah, and so I don't know if they're still number one for the most rooms for any property. I'm not quite sure, but it is enormous. And, yeah, just walking from your room to the elevator, then through the lobby to the convention center, you literally are walking miles, and that's staying in one hotel property. But surprisingly, the amenities there were pretty good. There's lots of great hotels. The pool looked great. I didn't get a chance to try it out, unfortunately. The restaurants were booked. Tried to get into Morimoto's for some sushi and could not get a reservation. So the place was jumping. The club Hakkasan, there were some events there coordinating with the event that I was there for. I didn't go. It's not my thing going to the clubs, but some of my colleagues went and said that it was pretty cool. And the food was excellent that they were just serving for our convention. So even their catering, which not all hotels, you go to these banquets and these catered events and you get the same old, rubber chicken or whatever. It's not all that good sometimes, but this was pretty good quality stuff. So I was impressed with the MGM. They really did a good job. Flew there and back on JetBlue. Also seamless. Everything was on time. Great service. Rarely do I have a problem with them. Usually I take Southwest out and JetBlue back, but this particular time I went both ways, and They treated me well. Did get to go to some of my favorite restaurants out there. My favorite Thai restaurant, of course, it's not a trip to Las Vegas for me if I don't visit Lotus of Siam, especially for their appetizer ribs. I mean, just awesome. Also their garlic prawns, which are very unique. They deep fry them with the shells on, and I don't know if it's a special kind of shrimp that has a thinner shell, kind of like a soft shell crab, but they say it's kind of like eating a potato chip, and it is. You eat it with the shell, and just awesome. So that's one of my favorite places. Also visited the Pepper Mill, which is one of my favorite places as well. It's on the Strip down near the convention center. And, it's just a basic diner. The only difference is they have a huge menu. The portions are gigantic. The quality of the food is good. The service is excellent. The vibe is like 50s or 60s Las Vegas. It's time stood still at this place, and it's just a very, very cool place with a cool vibe. Also had a chance briefly to stop in at Carson Kitchen, which is one of my favorite American Nouvelle Cuisine restaurants on East Fremont on Carson, just off of Las Vegas Boulevard. And just Google it, Carson Kitchen. Incredible food. You can get the small plates there and try a lot of different things. Did not get my favorite that I had last time, my favorite dessert, which was the bourbon bacon ice cream on top of the homemade brownie. I was just too full. I couldn't do it this time, but highly recommended. That may be my favorite ice cream flavor, bourbon bacon now. So
I think you got to stand up. All these restaurants. You look so fit. How do you do it, Dan?
Walking 14,000 steps each day in Las Vegas. You burn it off. I come home lighter than when I went. The good news, of course, is in the casino at the MGM. I left town with some of their money, so that's always good. So if I weigh anything extra, it's because my wallet. That's where the extra pound I think might be.
They're going to charge you more for the room next time.
They might. You never know, or they may not welcome me back at all. They don't like people taking anything back. But also got to catch a show that I've been wanting to see for a long time. I had heard good things about it. It's called Absinthe, and it is in a tent in front of Caesars. And right behind Gordon Ramsay's new restaurant that's right on the Strip. This is right behind it. And very, very cool show, kind of a cross between a Cirque show and a burlesque show. So some bizarre acts of skill and talent, as well as some comedy. Not recommended for the kiddies. I think it's 18 and over, but it's pretty easy to be blushing. It was vivid and descriptive comedy. So if not for the faint of heart, but it is Sin City and it's Las Vegas, and you don't go there to not exercise some vice, whether it's drinking or gambling or bad language or something. I mean, that's what it's all about. You
have to see it to have an opinion. So.
You do have to see it to have an opinion. It's a tough ticket to get, and I have to say that years ago you can see shows moderately priced in Vegas. These days, anything that's a hot ticket is an expensive ticket. I like to catch a concert whenever I'm out there, and I know that they've just announced some new dates at the Venetian for the Doobie Brothers. Aerosmith just added some additional dates. I believe it's maybe the Encore Theater. No, not the Encore. It's the theater right in front of the arena, the new theater there. A good seat to see Aerosmith might set you back $600. To me, that's just a little too much. The worst seat in the house, $160. To be up in the balcony somewhere, far away. Van Morrison just announced a residency at Caesars, also very expensive. Again, $150, $200 for the worst seat in the house, not the best seat in the house. So, a lot of things to do in Vegas. I always manage to find most of them, or as many as I can. Fortunately for me, I go out there on business, so I work hard all day and play at night. That's what Vegas is all about. And, a lot of people were asking me, why is it that so many conventions are out there? And they had noticed that this particular convention, which moves around, maybe 4 or 5 different cities it rotates, but they seem to get a bigger turnout when they're in Vegas. Well, that's because people enjoy going to Las Vegas, and that's why people have their conventions there, because people want to go there. They show up. That's what makes for a convention, a successful convention. So, all in all, it was a good trip, had a great time, and looking forward to my next trip out there, which I don't believe is until February, unfortunately, which is a long break for me. I may have to just sneak back somehow between now and then. you just never know. I might have to do that, but.
There was that one new project going on, Dan, the $1 billion Sphere. They were building a new theater there.
Yes, that is behind the Venetian. I believe Madison Square Garden and maybe AEG is behind that project. It's going to be, basically another arena. It's some sort of a round sphere-looking thing. Yeah. Well, it's going to compete with the current arena where the hockey team is playing, the Knights. It'll be competing with that. As well as where I was. I mean, formerly the largest place to hold a concert was the Garden Arena at the MGM, where a lot of big name acts have played there. I mean, they had all the posters walking into the convention center and stuff. You could see all the acts, things like Madonna and the Eagles and the Rolling Stones and Clapton, and, they've all played there. But that place now is being dwarfed by these new, even bigger arenas. And, new hotels are opening up. The convention center is going to be double in space in another year or so. It's expanding, and they've been running at about a 90% occupancy rate out there. So they need more hotels because of all the business that's going on there. So it's crazy.
That's unbelievable. I have one other question. You weren't the person that caught Lady Gaga when she fell off the stage last night.
I was not. Right, I wish I was there for her.
Okay.
I can't say I'm a huge fan of her, but I tremendously respect her talent. She has incredible talent,
awesome.
and I would not mind seeing her. But again, expensive ticket. All right. I think we're going to take a quick break for a message from our sponsors. We'll be back. We're going to be talking some golf. Stay tuned for more of the Golf and Travel Show.
I'm not smart enough. My resume's not up to date. They'll never pick someone like me. No one's hiring right now. Sound familiar? Don't let you get in the way of landing your next job opportunity. Sometimes it's best to leave it up to the experts. Did you know that the last reported job openings in the U.S. as of this recording was a series high of 6.7 million jobs, and that 1.1 million of those jobs were left unfilled? This means that there's a potential opportunity that's just right for you. And at Labor Finders, we're committed to helping you find it. Whether you're entering the workforce or looking for supplemental income in a job that starts right away, we've got you covered. With over 300,000 clients across the U.S. and 20,000 active daily workers, we have the network and the experience to get you your next job. Contact one of our nearly 200 offices today to see how we can help in your job search. Simply visit us online at www.laborfinders.com or connect with us on social media by searching the username LaborFinders.
And we are back. And, of course, happy to have my co-host, Ping Pong Man from pingpongman.com, none other than Scott Price. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dan.
And as promised, a little bit of golf talk. We like to give a brief recap of what happened last week and then talk a little bit about what's going on this week. And last week we had a first-time winner on the PGA Tour by the name of Lanto Griffin. A couple of these events this time of year, they don't get the strongest field, so they do give an opportunity for some other folks to get into the winner's circle. So congratulations. This was in Humble, Texas, to Lanto Griffin. Also on the Champions Tour, a guy who's won many times in North Carolina. One stroke victory to Jerry Kelly. So congratulations to Mr. Kelly for a win on the Champions Tour. Also, the women, they had actually a senior championship event out there. Which they've got like 3 or 4 of them a year. They haven't quite gotten to the point like the Champions Tour for the men where they have a regular schedule, but they've been trying to get something going on, and it's an opportunity for the women. And I believe the men are 50 and over. I think the women are 45 and over. And Julie Inkster had the lead most of the way, and then at the last minute, Helen Alfredsson rallied to come back and take the win out in French Lick, Indiana. So congratulations to Helen on that win. This week, there is plenty of golf going on as well on all the tours, I suppose. Let's see if we can see who's in the lead right now. So in South Korea right now, the Club at Nine Bridges. Now, this is an invitational event for the PGA players. I believe only 78 players qualify or get invited, and there's no cut line. So a lot of the players like to go out there because they know that they're guaranteed a check. And to get the players to travel all the way to Jeju Island in South Korea, there is a purse of almost $10 million, and everybody gets at least some of it. So
for only 78 people.
For only 78 people. So who would not want to go to South Korea to compete in this? The women, in the lead right now, after the first two rounds, heading into the weekend, is Justin Thomas, local guy at minus 13. Ben An had the lead, local guy, or he's from China, actually, not South Korea, correct? So he is at minus 11, tied with Danny Lee. So also the LPGA Tour, like I said, they're in Shanghai, China. And playing at, you could correct me if I say this wrong, Quizhong Garden Golf Club. How?
Sound good enough, but I do need to make the correction on Ben Han. His mother is from China, the father is Korea.
Okay.
So that's how.
Oh, so he is kind of the hometown
but
guy
I think
then?
they're living in Korea. I don't think they live in China together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And his father was a former table tennis champion, right?
Yeah, top 4 in the world.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. We were watching a video the other day of father and son
the
playing.
ping pong ball goes 80 miles an hour. The golf ball doesn't move. So I don't know. Both sports are kind of both difficult. So.
And the ping pong table is narrower than the typical fairway.
9 feet long.
So now, the women are in Shanghai, and Canadian Brooke Henderson is in the lead by 2 strokes over Jessica Korda. So we'll keep an eye on that. And the Champions Tour I was watching earlier, they got underway today. The Dominion Energy Charity Classic. And a name that I hadn't heard much on the Champions Tour, Tommy Tolles, is in the lead at minus 7. Right behind at minus 6 is Colin Montgomery and Scott Perel. So I'll be watching a lot of golf this weekend. Now, also, on Monday, something that I probably will not be watching because it's pay-per-view, something that we've been talking about for a while is finally happening. The Challenge, the Japan Skins game, is going to be taking place on Monday. I believe through the Golf Channel is where you can get it, but again, I think you have to pay for it. So we'll have to see how many
4
people.
players, right?
Yeah, only 4 players. I could give you the odds. In the lead at 2-1 is Rory McIlroy. He's the favorite. Followed by Hideki Matsuyama at 5-2, Tiger Woods at 3-1, and Jason Day at 7-2.
There's no $100 million prize money for just those 4 people.
No, I don't think so. But I'm sure it's decent, and I'm sure all 4 will. Well, maybe not. I don't know if there's any guarantee because, of course, the skins game, if you don't win any skins, I guess you get nothing. So it's possible maybe to go all the way out there and come home empty-handed.
Probably an agreement.
There may be, some sort of a appearance fee maybe so that they don't go home empty-handed.
How hungry.
Tiger Woods announced the field for his event, which he does to support his charities. It's the 5th time it's going to be played in the Bahamas at the Albany Golf Club in the beginning of December. Here's the field. We've got Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Webb Simpson, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Matt Kuchar, Patrick Reed, Ricky Fowler, Tony Finau, Gary Woodland, and Kevin Kisner. Let's see. Also, Bubba Watson, Justin Rose, and John Rahm. That is the entire field.
That's
so again,
wonderful.
It's a limited field. So, there's a very good chance that everybody will get something. 8 of the top 10 ranked players in the world will be in the field. It's the Hero World Challenge. And, again, Tiger, for everything you can say about him negative, he does raise a lot of money for children and does a great job with that. So he's a good host. Also in the news this past week, Ricky Fowler finally got married to his longtime girlfriend, Allison Stokey. Last Saturday they got married, and congratulations to both of them. They make a great couple. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, I think that's about what I got for the golf world. I think it's time to kind of change hats and switch it up a little bit and talk a little bit of travel. You ready?
Ready.
All right. So first of all, I always like to tell everybody that when you are planning a trip, make sure that you use a credit card and not a debit card. And the reason is that the travel industry can be volatile. And if you use a credit card, preferably American Express for travel, because they're very, very good at taking care of their customers when trouble happens. But any credit card as opposed to a debit card or cash or checks or something, because if something goes wrong, you're protected. Well, one of the very, very large travel companies called Cox & Kings suspended operations this past week. They're probably going to end up bankrupt. Recently, they had similar issues in Europe, but they said that the U.S. was run as a separate business and that they were safe. Well, not that safe. They were not able to hang on. So and they were around for many, many, many years and had a great reputation. So financial difficulties can happen. So it was only 2 months ago that the parent company or the other part of their business went bankrupt, and they said they were safe. So if you had put a deposit down on a trip, you could lose it. But if you use a credit card, chances are the credit card company will make you whole if you never got delivery of the product that you purchased. So good advice, use your credit card. Let's see. Also, in travel news, here's a story we've been covering for a while, the deaths or unusual deaths in the Dominican Republic. And there were a lot of different theories. Some people tied it to perhaps the all-inclusives, the alcohol being, bad quality that was altered perhaps. There were a lot of people, a lot of Americans that were dying who seemed to be healthy. And the folks in the Dominican Republic, they were saying that it's just a coincidence, and it sounded unreasonable to be true. Well, it seems that FBI toxicology tests came back, and they agreed with the folks in the Dominican Republic that most of the deaths were consistent with natural causes. They were not able to identify anything in particular unusual. Now, also, I believe that the government did try and crack down to make sure that inspections of all the alcohol and everything wasn't tampered with. I don't know what they found. They didn't share any of that. I was nervous at the time. I told people, if it was me, I wouldn't go. Or if I did go, I'd be careful what I drank. But maybe the folks in the Dominican Republic, were unfairly targeted. Maybe it was a coincidence, just kind of a scare or something.
Did the deaths stop? I remember 9 people.
Well, you're not hearing about them. So again, they were claiming that, listen, when people travel around the world, and let's face it, I mean, myself and other people have gotten food poisoning in the Dominican Republic. I mean, anytime you go to these all-inclusives, especially if they're not 5-star, super high-end ones, there's bacteria sometimes in the salad, from the water. Or even vegetables or meat, Mm-hmm. But I mean, let's face it, we have problems in this country sometimes where foods are recalled and whatever. So in a country that's a little bit more lax perhaps on or less stringent on their government regulations, things like this can happen.
This was over several locations.
It was several locations, and it just sounded too weird, but there seems to be no scientific evidence to back up anything, any hanky-panky or anything unusual. So the good news is that for us, the consumer, bad news for the Dominican Republic, their travel industry saw a huge downturn in travel. And, of course, to try and offset that, now there's a lot of discounts. So maybe later on I might have a few that we could talk about specifically. But if you do like the Dominican Republic, I love it. They've got incredible golf there. It's a short trip from here in South Florida. There's also any of our listeners up in the Northeast. It's pretty easy to get to. So, this might be a good time to get a really good deal to the Dominican Republic. So keep an eye on that. As far as, how about some recommendations? AAA came out with a list of the top, destinations, for travel. Let's see. I had domestic ones and international. I only see the international ones right here. Here's the domestic ones. So, let's see. All right. Well, let's do international first, and then I'll give you a list of domestic. So, number 10, a place I recently visited. I'm not sure if you've been to Barcelona, Spain.
Haven't been there.
Great place. Number 9, Munich, Germany. I have not been there.
I've been there.
Like it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Big city.
Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yep.
Not been there.
Beautiful.
Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. My favorite golf course, Punta Espana. And Punta Cana been there several times. We were just talking about. That's number 7. Number 6, Montego Bay. Canada just came out with warnings about Montego Bay for crime. The government's been having some issues there, including the Montego Bay area. So keep that in mind.